In 2023, OnlyFans reported processing more than $6.6 billion in payments. The company kept roughly 20% of that total as revenue. Those numbers sound large, but they are not extraordinary in the context of global digital platforms. What makes them interesting is not their size. It is the way they were generated. To understand that, it helps to look at the creator economy before OnlyFans became prominent. For much of the 2010s, digital creators depended heavily on advertising. Platforms offered exposure, and exposure was converted into ad impressions. The system appeared scalable. A creator could accumulate millions of views and revenue would follow. At least, that was the promise. But advertising-based income has a built-in instability. Between 2016 and 2021, large video platforms experienced repeated waves of advertiser pullbacks triggered by brand safety concerns. Creators who had built entire businesses on predictable monthly ad revenue suddenly found their income cut dramatically. A channel earning $100,000 a year could see that number fall by half within weeks. Not because their audience disappeared, not because their work declined, but because advertising markets react to external pressures that creators do not control. It became clear that attention does not equal income. At the same time, direct support platforms like Patreon emerged as alternatives. Instead of relying on advertisers, creators could ask their audiences to subscribe monthly. The model promised stability. For some, it worked. But for most creators, the ceiling remained relatively low. Publicly available data and creator disclosures suggest that the majority of accounts on subscription platforms earn modest monthly income, often below a few $1,000s. A small percentage reach high 5 or 6 figures, but they are exceptions. This created a gap. Advertising offered scale but little stability. Subscriptions offered stability but limited scale. OnlyFans entered during this period. It did not position itself as a social network competing for attention. It did not promise algorithmic exposure. It did not invest heavily in internal discovery mechanisms. Instead, it built itself around payments. By the early 2020s, the platform had tens of millions of registered users and millions of creators. It generated revenue not from advertising, but from transactions. Every subscription, every tip, every piece of locked content produced a fee. That design choice altered the economic structure. Advertising platforms operate by competing for attention. Algorithms decide which content is amplified. Revenue depends on ad rates, watch time, click-through rates, and advertiser budgets. When advertising budgets contract, creators feel it directly. OnlyFans avoided that layer almost entirely. There is no central feed optimized to predict viral growth. No For You page that can suddenly turn someone into an overnight success. Most creators bring their audience from elsewhere, from mainstream social media platforms, where visibility is determined by algorithms and trends. At first glance, this looks like a weakness. Why would a platform not invest in discovery? But investing in discovery means accepting discovery risk. When a platform promises visibility, it becomes responsible for fluctuations in that visibility. It must explain why impressions rise or fall. It must continuously adjust recommendation systems. It must absorb user complaints and creator frustration. That is expensive, technically and politically. OnlyFans declined to take on that responsibility. It does not guarantee growth. It provides infrastructure. Attention-based systems compete for time. Transaction-based systems process intent. OnlyFans sits at the moment when intent becomes payment. In economic terms, this shortens the revenue path. Instead of converting attention into advertising dollars through several intermediaries, the platform connects audience decisions directly to creator income, retaining a fixed percentage of each exchange. This shift also redistributes risk. If one creator experiences a decline in income, that volatility is concentrated at the individual level. But when millions of creators fluctuate independently, the platform's aggregate commission tends to stabilize. Individual instability becomes systemic smoothness. The mathematics of aggregation matter. From the platform's perspective, predictability increases with scale. From the creator's perspective, uncertainty remains personal. This asymmetry shapes behavior. A creator monitors daily subscriber numbers. They adjust pricing tiers. They test different content strategies. They experience anxiety when renewals drop. They attribute success or decline to personal decisions, creative direction, or changing audience preferences. Some of those attributions are accurate. Strategy matters. But the surrounding structure matters as well. The platform converts payment efficiently. It reduces billing friction. It centralizes customer management. It handles chargebacks and fraud detection. These technical functions are invisible in daily conversation, but they are fundamental to the model. Smartphones made content production inexpensive. High-quality cameras fit in pockets. Editing software became widely accessible. What did not become simple was financial infrastructure. Processing recurring subscriptions across countries requires compliance with payment networks. Handling disputes and refunds requires systems. Managing tax documentation across jurisdictions requires administrative work. By absorbing these complexities, the platform becomes central to the transaction. And centrality creates dependency. Creators often describe themselves as independent. In many ways they are. They are not employees. They set pricing. They choose their content. They can leave. But independence inside a system differs from independence outside it. Subscriber lists remain within the platform's database. Payment routing flows through approved processors. Account status depends on policy enforcement. These conditions do not always feel restrictive, particularly when income is rising. Yet they form structural boundaries. The platform itself also operates within constraints. In 2021, financial institutions reportedly raised compliance concerns about adult content. The company briefly announced a policy shift restricting explicit material before reversing its decision. Infrastructure depends on higher infrastructure. Payment processes must comply with regulatory frameworks. Platforms depend on payment processes. Creators depend on platforms. Each layer has influence, but none are entirely autonomous. OnlyFans did not win purely because of content type. Adult entertainment existed online long before the platform emerged. What changed was the economic alignment between creators and infrastructure at a specific historical moment. By the late 2010s, audiences were accustomed to digital subscriptions. Streaming services had normalized monthly payments. App stores had trained users to attach cards to accounts. Friction around online transactions declined. At the same time, creators were seeking alternatives to volatile ad revenue. They wanted predictable cash flow without negotiating sponsorships or relying on algorithmic favor. OnlyFans combined these conditions. It did not promise fame. It promised monetization. And it structured its incentives accordingly. Because revenue is tied directly to transactions, the platform's priorities align with payment volume. It invests in processing reliability, not content curation. It benefits when existing audiences convert, not when random virality occurs. The success of the model suggests that, at a particular point in the evolution of online media, reducing complexity and shortening the path between intent and payment can be more powerful than maximizing exposure. OnlyFans did not reinvent content. It reorganized incentives. And in digital systems, incentives often matter more than appearances.